So Emilie is definitely one of the like interesting characters, you can say. You can consider her being pretty niche, probably one of the most niche characters in the game, period. A lot of people consider her good, but most people, I would say, don't think of her as being like a top tier flexible character and stuff like that. That was the idea since release. I can find this random article from August, and it's saying that when Emilie got released her first time, being the first character, even Yellen, who was rerunning for the 4th time, did more sales than her. This article is saying that the reasons that she's very niche in terms of her teams, but they're saying Natlan update might shift the meta with new pyro characters, potentially boosting Emilie's relevance. Now that Natlan is pretty much over, I think this is probably the last version we have, and Emilie is rerunning soon, did any of that change at all? We're gonna see in this video. Before we do that though, if you're trying to get Emilie, I would recommend checking out LD Shop. It's a cheap, fast, and secure game top-up website where you can get Genesis crystals 15% cheaper or more. Check it out from the link in the description or the pinned comment. But yeah, Emilie is just a Dendro sub DPS really. But basically what she does is that she just puts her elemental skill on the ground, and her elemental skill is just going to be attacking enemies, dealing Dendro damage. The catch is every time there's a burn-in reaction on enemies, the level of your elemental skill on the ground is going to be upgraded, and it's just going to deal much more damage and also increase the range and stuff like that. Basically, it's just going to be much better when it absorbs the scents that are created when you deal burn-in to enemies. Also, you get extra damage from her passive. Her kit is also made to deal increased damage to burn-in enemies and stuff like that. So basically she's just a Dendro sub DPS, but she gets much better when there's burn-in happening around her. That's pretty much all of Emilie's kit. The main problem with Emilie, in my opinion, is that she's a sub DPS, and generally with sub DPSs you'd want them to be like that flexible character who can just throw in at any team that can just deal extra damage or buff someone and stuff like that. Like we've seen from Escoffier, for example, just whatever, any sub DPS support who can buff like a specific niche of teams and they can deal their extra damage. Or they can be just like a general sub DPS, like Shiori, for example, stuff like that, where you can just throw them at any team and they deal extra damage. The problem with Emilie is that outside of burn-in teams, her damage is just gonna be not good or not really that good at all compared to other sub DPSs. She's gonna be very replaceable, and she's only going to be a good sub DPS in burn-in teams. And even then it's going to be more of like for the wrong reasons. Emilie is good in burn-in teams because burn-in buffs Emilie, not vice versa. It's not like that you can have any burn-in team and then just like buff it with Emilie and then the damage of the whole team is going to be more. No, it's that you need burn-in to buff Emilie for Emilie to deal good damage. So she uses burn-in, not vice versa. So she's not a burn-in buffer or anything like that where you can just like use her for burn-in teams. She benefits from burn-in herself. That makes her much less versatile, and there's a big difference. There's a big difference between those, and it makes her much less versatile. It's usually never good when you have to build a whole team around a sub DPS, and that just simply comes down to the characters. Usually your main DPS is going to be the character, like the needy character, you can say, who's going to need like specific supports and specific teammates and stuff like that for him to function properly, because he is the main DPS. But when a sub DPS also requires these things, then it can get pretty complicated pretty quickly, and it's gonna limit the sub DPS's teams like very hard. And that's the problem with Emilie. When it comes down to it, there's not really many main DPSs that you can use her with that synergize with the characters that Emilie needs. And it's as simple as that. And it mainly comes down to pyro characters and pyro synergies. She needs specific characters who can apply pyro to enemies, and usually that's a big problem with a lot of main DPSs. So it's pretty hard to find a main DPS that can use like a burning character and also compatible with Emilie. Usually if you need to put Emilie on the team, then you're probably losing out on using some other buffers that can directly buff your main DPS. So she's almost never worth it on a lot of teams. Now, as I said before, the problem is mainly in pyro characters. If you had more pyro characters, probably we're going to see more options. And this is what the article back in August stated. Like everyone expected her to have at least some extra teams after, you know, Natlan, because it's the pyro region. But I don't think we've seen a single pyro character out of Natlan, except for like Moika, just literally the pyro archon. So yeah, now this is the end of Natlan, the pyro region, and I hate to break it to you, but it's the exact same situation. Emilie is still very niche. You can use her in basically like 2 or 3 teams, like a full Dendro burn-in team, which basically is only with Kenish. So you can use like Kenish, Emilie, and then Bennett and Moika. This is like the team where Emilie shines. You know, burn-in is just going to be happening everywhere. Moika is just going to be applying pyro. She's going to be buffing Kenish. Everyone is going to be synergizes with the Night Soul together. So yeah, Emilie is just going to be dealing great amounts of damage on this type of team. On this team, not this type of team, because it's only Kenish. This is like the holy grail well, Kinish is also a burn-in DPS mainly, Wika is a good pyro player, Natling characters, stuff like that. So this has been the team for Emilie since the start. But outside of that though, it gets scarce pretty quickly. There's still not many teams. Like, you can find some DPSs that can synergize with her like slightly. For example, Risley is one of the few DPSs that you can use with Emilie, where she doesn't like mess up his teams. You can use her with him on like a melt team, and she can be a great DPS. So you can use like Risley, Emilie, and then also Muika and Bennett. You can play this team as a normal melt team for Risley, and then Emilie is just gonna be dealing extra damage, and it's actually is gonna be one of the good teams for Risley. It's not the best, obviously, but it's gonna be pretty decent. But yeah, outside of that, really you don't have any specific teams where Emilie can function as like a proper sub DPS. You can start doing like weird teams. For example, just sort of like an Emilie National, where you can use like Xiangling, Bennett, and then Emilie, and then let's say Kaza or Sucrose. But in this type of team, there's no real DPS. It's more of like a quick swap team sort of, but it's not as good as using just like a normal national team where you use a Hydra, for example, like Xingsha or Yellen or whatever. So yeah, this is mainly the problem with Emilie. She just requires some very specific stuff for her to work, and these stuff don't work with other main DPSs. So she's like a sub DPS, but also a very needy sub DPS, almost as needy as a main DPS. And obviously with that, you're gonna see a lot of clashes, and it's not gonna be worth it to use Emilie in most teams. That has always been the problem with Emilie, and unfortunately it still is. You haven't seen any new pyro characters that she can work with and work with like other main DPSs and stuff like that. We just haven't seen anything. She just got released, a very niche character, and is still very niche up until now. And honestly, do I think she's gonna be better? Probably not anytime soon, to be honest. We're not really seeing that many characters that are being released that are like catering to Emilie in this side. And if we do, it'll probably be like one extra character or two maybe max. And even with that, she's still gonna be considered niche in my opinion, especially for a sub DPS. So yeah, I definitely do think Emilie is not a great value character. Pretty niche character. If you have the teams for her, mainly just a Kinish team honestly, then maybe go for Emilie. But outside of that, I definitely think Emilie is a clear skip. I don't think she got better, still very niche character. I don't think she's that valuable for your account in general. Obviously, unless you like her, then just go for it, and hopefully you do get her. But yeah, that was the video guys. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.